Hi folks, I'm Nick Duvall, owner and master craftsman of Duvall Leather Work. We're here today in our Hanover Township, Pennsylvania artisan workshop to explore all of our tools, our equipment, our process, and people that make all the wonderful leather products that we make. Okay, so we're in the back portion of our artisan workshop. We are going to cut all of the leather components that are required to make one of our bifold wallets. We're going to make a deluxe bifold today. The deluxe portion will have a little ID window that flaps over the top. A special treat for you here is that I'm going to use one of our most popular selling wallets, which includes bison leather and cowhide. Both pieces of leather are tanned in America and are of wonderful quality. Okay, so the first step here is that we're going to lay out our bison leather. So you can see the size of this. This would be half of the bison. So this leather is tanned by Law Tanning in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Comes from either native bison that are raised or Canadian bison. So as you can see in the piece here, this would be the butt of the animal and this would be the head of the animal. All leather is produced for process of meat. There is nothing to do with taking this hide from an animal just for its leather. It's always about the meat first and the leather is second. You can see the beautiful color in this. This is done by the tannery too. They make many different colors, but this is something we find very, very appealing. You can see the distressed marks in it. That comes from the animal's natural life. And bison typically have, their hides are not as perfect as cattle. They do have some scars, mars, imperfections. They live pretty harsh lives and their hides show it. And so to pair with this then, because this leather is a little bit soft, we're going to use a piece of cowhide, which is specially made for us as well too. So this is only half of the piece. The other half would be much longer, but we have them cut so it's easier for us to work on the machines that we're going to be dealing with here. So you can see the cowhide, the bison leather together, going to make a really nice combination, going to make a beautiful wallet. Okay, so we're going to cut the wallet out here with our machine. This machine is called a clicker. It's very basic, up and down hydraulic pressure. Just about every shoe company, anything that cuts leather, plastic, foam, has one of these in it. So in conjunction with this machine, we're going to use a die set. Okay, these dies are custom made for our products. Each shape, every little detail goes into it. They're not super sharp because the machine presses down with between about 20 and 25 tons of pressure. So it'll cut right through the leather, no problem. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to cut out the cover of our wallet that we're going to make here today. So we're going to get our bison leather in place. So this piece has already been cut into, so we're going to select a nice little area. As simple as that. Okay, next we're going to use our cowhide to cut all the pockets and inside pieces. So as you can see from the last piece of leather, which is rather soft, we have this leather prepared for us firm. So we want our pockets and the insides of the wallet to be a firmer leather so that it holds itself up and is not so unshapely. So in order to do this, we're going to use the same thing. We're going to select an area and we're going to start to cut. So these pockets will be our first piece that we'll cut here. And you can see the cutting action here. exactly how it goes. So for this wallet, we need 6 pockets. And so when we cut this stuff too, we're very thoughtful about where we are. So I have a hole in the leather here. I have a hole in the leather here. I'm going to match my pieces up pretty close here. It's truly about maximum yield, how much you're going to get per piece of leather. Every piece of leather is different. Okay, now we're done with our pockets. So you can see literally very little waste. Next is our pocket backer. This will be used for our stiffener to hold the pockets in place. This will cut 2 at once. So to make the dies more efficient, sometimes we have them made so that they'll cut 2 pieces at one time. Next, we're going to need a portion for our ID window. So here we got a little imperfection in the leather, some sort of crack. It happens all the time. Leather is a very tricky substance that's just lots of problems all over the place, and there's no fixing it. It is what it is, and there's no special thing that can hide imperfections. Okay. Next piece will be our ID window. In a normal cutting situation, we would probably use the leather differently in a more effective manner. However, this piece here, we're just cutting out one for today. So this is a pretty complex die too. You can see it's a shape within a shape. This is where the plastic ID window will be for our wallet. We're left over with a small piece of leather. We recycled and upcycled these into hat patches for hats. Next we have our inside body. So I got a weird little section here I think we'll cut. Here we got a hole. So this will fit pretty nicely in the space. I also have another small piece that I'd like to cut at the same time. Let's see if I can fit it. Looks like I can. So here we got around the hole. Again, leather is full of all kinds of things, but we cut around that pretty easily for ourselves. This is our reinforcement band for the inside of the wallet. We'll trim up our leather. And that concludes the cutting of all the pieces that are required for our men's bifold wallet. Okay, so this is a band knife splitter. We've cut our pieces for our wallet. However, the bison leather is a little bit thick for what we need. So we're gonna use this machine here. Again, it's called a band knife splitter. Inside of this machine is a very large metal band. You can see here on the side of the wall, I have replaced one about 2 years ago because it cracked. It's unbelievably complicated machine to do the simplest thing. Think of it as a planer except for leather, and it's using one big knife blade inside to go through. So it sharpens itself. And what we're going to do here is split this piece of leather down to its desired thickness. Okay, so we'll gauge this piece here. It's at about 5.5 ounces thick. And so that quick, I've split the leather down to about 4.5 ounces, which is the desired weight that we want for this wallet. Okay, so now comes the time where we're going to stamp the logo into the wallet. We're at our hot foil stamping machine here. So one pocket will go into our template. Template goes into the machine, and then we'll use a small piece of foil. In. Reveals a really nice, crisp stamp. Proudly made in Pennsylvania. Okay, so we're back here in my workshop. We're going to assemble all the pieces that we have cut earlier. You can see now the clear difference on this nice light colored table. Our cowhide pieces, these are the insides of the wallet, and here we have our bison leather cover. So to start this all off, the first thing that we're going to need to do is apply glue tape to all the various pieces in preparation for assembly. So we'll start with our cover. This is our reinforcement strip. So we'll run a piece of tape down the center. So I'm going to select my piece of leather, whatever I want to be the top of the wallet. So we'll butt this up against the end. And the end. Press it down. Okay, this piece now is ready for the sewing machine. Next, we're going to use a smaller tape. So we have multiple different thicknesses here. We have 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/8 inch. So these little fine pieces get 1/8 inch pieces of tape. We literally make tens of thousands of wallets annually, and we go through quite a bit of tape. So we want to use a hammer just to make sure that it has good adhesion. You know, doing this kind of work too, you don't need to be super focused, but in our modern world, it's so refreshing to just be a craftsman and think about the work that's at hand. What's in front of your face, not being distracted, looking at every little detail of how you make something. sometimes when you're making stuff like this too. It's interesting to think about how many pieces of leather I've probably touched in my life. I've been professionally working with leather for probably a little over 20 years now. It's never a dull moment, that's for sure, with this stuff. It's very satisfying to make something and see someone using it out and about. Okay, so we've got all of our pieces here taped, prepped, and ready to go for assembly here on the sewing machine behind me. Okay, it's time to start assembling the wallet now. We have all of our pieces prepped, taped, ready to go. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is set up some lines and basic things. So we're going to need to put a stitch line here on our top of our wallet. To do that, I'm going to bump it up against the stone. I know that the measurement is 1 inch. And I know that this ruler is 1 inch wide. Okay, so this will be a line for us to stitch on here in a few minutes. Next, we're going to start to assemble our pockets. Okay, so I'm going to select which side I want to be up. Okay, inside of here too we have some stabs. These stabs are used to locate where we're going to place our pockets. So the glue tape is double-sided. I'm going to pluck my tape off the top, and then using the stabs that are on the wallet, or the wallet pocket backer, I'm going to place the pocket. There's no need to strike it really hard because we're just adhering it long enough for the sewing to happen. That's why we use glue tape instead of any kind of other really strong adhesives. There's just no need for it. Okay, so the first pocket is set. Okay, and then we have one other pocket here that we're going to do as well. Okay, so we'll use the stabs that are on the back side of this portion, which is the window ID. Okay, so now we have 3 interior pockets set and ready to sew. First thing I'm going to do to the machine. Okay, so because this is nylon thread, we'll be able to easily melt our threads. So melting it will bond the thread to the leather, and will not allow the stitching to come out. Okay, everything's put together. Back to our station here. Now we're going to apply a few more pockets and things. So first thing we'll do here is we're going to prepare our window portion. So we have a plastic ID window. This is going to go on to the piece of leather. Now the leather is very flimsy because we've cut the center out of it. So we have a template here that holds the piece of leather in its shapely manner so that it doesn't skew the wallet piece. So we'll remove our tape. Okay, we'll stick our window down. And you can see now that the plastic will actually hold it into place. Corner here needs a little clip. Okay. Okay, next we're going to apply our pockets onto the other portion. So when making our wallets, our wallet pocket always goes on to the, if you're looking at it, the right side of the wallet. So we'll start with it. So the way this pattern is made too, there is very little overlap of the pocket here to keep everything nice and flat so that it all comes together. There's all kinds of wallets in this world. We prefer to just make it two pockets. Okay, so now we have a non-logo stamped pocket. We'll start in the corner. Okay, so now we have the two sides of the wallet. Things are starting to come together. It's starting to look like what a wallet should be, okay? Then the next portion here that we have is we have one more pocket for our window ID flap. So a little detail on this wallet too is that when a sewing machine sews, there's a good and a bad side of which side it stitches on. So your side that would be up on the machine is typically your finished stitch. The underside would be a less perfect stitch. So on our deluxe bifolds that we make with a window ID, we actually stitch this side up so that when you look through the window, no matter what's inside of it, it looks perfect every single time. Okay? So we have a little bit of sewing here to do now. So next we're going to stitch along this side, and we have to finish our window here. We have to sew the plastic onto the leather. Okay? All right, so now we're going to be doing some top stitching. So we're going to employ the use of a roller guide, which is this thing right here. It has been preset to a specific distance off the edge, which we find to be visually appealing to our products. Okay, so we need to have a start point. All sewing machine stitching needs to start with a back tack. You saw me go in reverse and forward. Always starts reverse, then forward. And when you get to the end, you're forward already, you go in reverse. That is how you lock the stitches into place so that they don't come apart. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're going to make all these stitches look nice, pull the stuff together. So when we clip the threads too, we want just a little bit of thread so that when we melt this, there's actually something there to melt. You can do this on home just about on anything. It has nylon thread. Even if you had a tear in a piece of clothing or a shoe or something, you just use a lighter to. Now if it were a piece of cotton, it wouldn't work the same way, but we employ nylon thread for this very purpose. It's ultra strong, stitches very nicely. This is not to be confused with thread that would be used for hand sewing, which is a completely different skill set, which we also do here as well too. However, this product does not require it. Okay, so there we can see our pieces and the top of our window. I still have the center piece in here. I'm leaving that till almost the very end here, okay? So I'm going to turn around. I'm going to do one little thing. These can sit to the side for a moment. Now I am actually going to remove that center piece. Okay, we need to apply another row of glue tape. So now we're going to apply this piece to this piece. Starting our round at the bottom, round at the top, or at the bottom. That's a really nice piece. Okay, now we're going to use our roller guide and we're going to stitch all the way around this piece. And in fact, while we have it there, we're next going to sew, we need to stitch our reinforcement strip onto the bison leather. Okay, so as you can see, the roller guide helped me keep a perfectly straight edge right across the top. Now this one I'm going to have to freehand. This is where it takes a little bit of skill. Not that it's that hard, but it still requires a little bit more skill than the portion with the roller guide. So we'll remove this out of the way. So this machine is a compound walking foot sewing machine. So as you'll watch this walk, the feet actually move up and down, helping to pull the material through. The one thing you have to be wary of is that this side is thicker than this side, so we would not want to run this like this because it would be walking awkward. So we want to run this so that the portion of the walking foot of the machine is on top of this second piece of leather here. So I always start out by positioning where I want my stitch to be, because I'm a craftsman and I want my work to be as perfect as possible, no matter how many of these things I have to make. So we're going to go our stitches forward, stitches in reverse. Okay, you can see here, the die is 1 1/8 inches. The line that we put on the front is 1 inch, making for a perfect stitch line. Now you can see too how beautifully the stitches look on this side, which was up. And this is your secondary line of stitching, which looks nice, but it's still not a finished piece. Okay, so I'm going to take now and clip and burn all of my threads. So if I can, I will try to pull them into the inside of the wallet here so that I don't have things on the outside, but unfortunately this one I cannot pull through. It happens. Same with this side. This one here can be pulled in. So we have a little loose loop there. You do enough of these too, you know exactly how long to hold it, and then you want to press it. If you press it too soon, you'll burn yourself. Last one. Okay, this piece now is ready for some edge work, so we'll set that right there. Next thing we're going to do is now go back to our roller guide, and we're going to stitch all the way around the side here, okay? So, starting up here in the top. Okay, so this machine has the ability to walk up and over things pretty easily. That's the difference between most household machines and truly industrial pieces of equipment. All the people I've taught how to use sewing machines, I pretty much just explain to them that it's as simple as it's just like driving a car. It's just a pedal and paying attention to your surroundings and how the piece of equipment is operating. And I always find it interesting that literally everything that surrounds our lives, from our car upholstery to the clothes, our shoes, our things that keep our babies safe, our flags, our, so much of our entire life is cloaked in things made by a sewing machine, and yet no one knows how to use a sewing machine. Very few people do. So we've stitched around the outside perimeter here. Okay, we're going to do some edge work on our pieces here now. Okay, so we've got some of our pieces sewn here. The whole process is really starting to come together. You can see that these are components of a wallet now. So we've got, full sides of leather, full pieces of leather, cutting the leather, preparing the leather, all the things, and we're really starting to come together here now. So the next step of this is that we need to sand some of the edges and we need to do a little bit of edge work on these things to make them really smooth before the final assembly. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take our deluxe portion, our window portion, which needs a little bit of sanding, just the pieces come together here. So I'm going to move over to the machine here and sand the edges. Always safety first. Super basic, just a little touch up around the edge here has brought it all together. All right, so now we're going to prepare to slick and dye these edges. So the first thing we need to do is this edge it's a little rough. So in order to fix that, we're going to use a series of different edgers here to knock off the very slight edge of the leather. This tool is just cutting, as you can see, the tiniest little bit, rolling over the edge of that leather just to give it a nicer feel. Okay, so we need to go back to our cover too. These pieces here are far too thin to edge, so we were going to leave those alone. This one edged nicely, and on this piece, again, we're just going to take off that very top leader edge. On both sides. Again, I mean, it's literally just paper. Okay. We're going to use a little leather dye. Okay, so the dye will help hide that light colored edge, really just tie the whole thing together. This pen is brand new. Okay, we're going to go around the edges of this. So you can see the light. Now we're going to go to the dark. This should be something that takes 1 second. The dye pen is so new. There we go. Okay, we're going to do this inside edge here. And this inside edge here. And we're going to do this edge here too. Okay. From here to the machine. Okay, so now instead of sanding around the edge, we're going to use the same machine to what's called burnish or slick the edge of the piece of leather to give it that desired smooth feel. Okay, so always safety first. Okay, so we use a little bit of beeswax, whichever. So we're going to be using black, so we'll probably stick to one of the black wheels here. So this piece, essentially all this machine does is it's just really smooth, and it helps slick that edge all the way around. Okay, so you can see now probably a shine to it. That's really nice. We'll finish that by hand here. So you can see the difference between the two now. Doesn't take much. We just use beeswax because it gives a nice result. We can source it locally There's all kinds of agents and things you can use. Edge paint is something that's used quite a bit in our industry. We just don't see the need in doing that on a product like this. So maybe you can see the shine of this versus this. And last, we're going to do this leader edge, which we will do again in a little bit. Okay. Okay, now it's time to assemble. Okay, so we have our pieces mostly ready for assembly here. We just slicked the edges, however, we are going to just give them a slight rub down with a piece of cloth, and that will finish off any kind of little discoloration, markings, things of that nature. It'll really finish the piece. This is just a piece of some sort of dense canvas. It looks like blue jean material, but it's actually canvas. And we apply wax to it as well, and it to help with this process. So I'm giving a little bit of pressure with my index finger and my middle finger just to push down on it to give it that nice edge. And then we need to do the top edge of the wallet here, or the cover. And so you can see, I've just come along here. You see there's like a little bit of like discoloration still that I didn't get any dye on, and completely gone. Other side. Perfectly smooth. Again, this could have been edge painted. We do not take the time to do that. Instead, we use the beeswax. It is a very, very nice finish and lasts and lasts, and it looks really nice when complete. So on that note, next thing, we are going to complete the wallet. So we have our two pockets here, pocket panels I should say, and our deluxe portion. So first thing we're going to do is apply our deluxe portion to the wallet. So I'm going to use a spacer here. This tool is called a loop iron. Normally in a setting where I'd have a bunch of these to do, I'd have this already set up and I would just roll right through them, but I'm only doing one here at a time. So the loop iron is going to be placed here because, again, it is the correct spacing. So remove my glue tape. Get this a little bit off the corner too. No one will ever see this, but we want it to be gone. Okay. 3/4 of an inch loop iron into place with the square. It ensures that this entire piece is straight. Okay. Now we're going to apply our pockets. So there's a clear left and right pocket, straight edge, curved, go with the curves. So I'm going to start in the corner to this corner. I'm going to bump it up against my stone, press it. Okay. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Corner, corner. I'm unable to do that on the stone this time, but I will go this way. Make sure everything is straight. Okay. right, so our wallet is straight, everything's in its place. We're ready to go in the sewing machine. Okay, so before I get there, I will take my wing dividers. You could use a roller guide for this, however, I prefer to just use it at one time. Now we need to bring this whole thing together here. So roller guide out of the way. I want to position where my first stitch is. Here. Back tack. Okay, same as it was every time before. Clipped our threads. I'm going to try to pull it onto the back side of the wallet. Melt. This side won't pull through. Not a problem. Okay, it's starting to look like a wallet now. Okay, from here, we're going to put a little die on this section, just to help finish off the edge. Slick the pieces. We're now ready for final assembly. Okay. Final assembly. We start on this side, mostly because it's for positioning with sewing. So glue tape is removed. I'm going to butt this up against the edge. Okay. Okay, so she's really starting to come together here as a wallet. Okay, I need to know exactly where I'm going to start and stop. So this is my start-stop point right here. So I'm going to put a little dent in the leather. Okay, and that's where my needle will start to stitch this point. So like we spoke about before, there's a good and a bad side to the sewing machine stitch pattern. We want to make sure that this is up so that we get that nice finished look. Roller guide down. Okay, I have my start point. Okay, got a nice stitch pattern here. Okay, so we're going to pull our threads to the inside again. This is a pretty critical wear point right here, so we want to make sure that we have back stitched that enough. And then this too is a pretty critical wear point here as well too. No matter how great something is, everything comes apart in the end, so we still try to make it as the best that we can. Making sure that the stitches are strong, in their place, melted at the right place, all together. Okay. Side one, we're going to sand this edge now and finish it. folks, we're here at our retail store located in Kingston, Pennsylvania. We've brought our finished bifold wallet with an ID window. As you can see here, the bison leather and the anthracite color inside truly is a beautiful match together. Ready to hold all of your cash or lack of cash, business cards, credit cards, everything neatly into one beautifully handcrafted in Pennsylvania product. Duvall Leather is, again, located in Kingston, Pennsylvania. We also have a retail store in Clark Summit, Pennsylvania as well. And you can shop online anytime, 24 hours a day on our website, DuvallLeatherwork.com. I invite everyone to come and enjoy the wonderful products that we make and the craftsmanship of the team that works for me. We couldn't be more proud to call Pennsylvania our home of operations.